Mark, 66-0 win. How do you reflect on that? Not a bad day at the office on Sunday.
Yeah, as I said after the game, I thought it was probably the most clinical and ruthless we've been. I think it's fair to say Doncaster, we were really good in Doncaster, won't be too happy we are there when after chatting to Arnie after the game. So, with it being a short turnaround, we've done a quick review of it, but mainly focused on his attention to Friday night. So, good day at the office, but we're not going to get carried away. As I said, we've got our own goals that we want to hit, and we're very aware that we're coming up against a very dangerous Featherston team on Friday night.
Do you do anything to stop the players getting carried away, or is everyone fairly level-headed, peaks and troughs, whether or not you win or lose sort of thing?
Yeah, I think we've got a fairly level-headed group. I think the balance is obviously having confidence in your ability and how you can play, but also understanding how you get them performances. You get them performances by making sure you do everything right in training, and that's not only physically, that's mentally, making sure your mindset's right, and one thing that we like to pride ourselves on is getting that right. So we won't be resting on his laurels. We're very aware we're going to come up against a very well coached Featherston team. Obviously I thought they were very unlucky against Oldham not to get that win, and we know that they're going to be doing everything they can to get that win on Friday night. So it's really important from our point of view that we get our own mindset right, and we just carry on focusing on ourselves and where we want to get. And it's got all the makings for another good championship game, hasn't it?
When you're on the right side of a ruthless display like that, what's most pleasing for you as a head coach? The fact that you're able to keep the other team off the board and get the 0, or the fact that you're able to rack up 12 tries?
Me personally, the 0. The players probably be as happy with both. I'm a bit of a defence nerd. I'm one of these old school that enjoy a 2-0 win, but it were a good performance, as I said. But me personally, I'm always after that defensive display, and we'll have to be at his best defensively on Friday. Because Cookie's, a very great coach that can put a decent attack together. So we're very aware of Featherston's threats, and we know that there's going to be, they play a very expansive brand of rugby. They've got some great players. Benny Reynolds and Rocky in there, 2 players that I've had the pleasure of seeing up close and coaching as well, with Danny Addy through the middle, and then obviously Callum Aikins at fullback. That's a great spine there, and Jubby and Jonesy at 9. They've got some strike there, and we're very aware Cookie will have them well drilled and ready to throw some decent shapers.
Yeah. Before I move on to talk about Featherston, I just wanted to ask you pick out a couple of players. Obviously, everyone's been talking about Scott Galliano, the hat-trick on Sunday on his birthday as well, to go with the 2 tries the week before. Just how impressed have you been with Scott since he's come in, not only in terms of what he's managed to produce on the pitch, but just the way he sort of slotted in with the group as well?
Yeah, after chatting to him, I had no issues that he was going to slot straight in when I met him and his girlfriend. For a brew before training, you could just tell straight away he were a good, humble kid that just wanted to get on with his rugby, and there's no ego on him. Just wants to improve, and the sort of player that we want in our group. So. Yeah, I've been impressed with Scott, just like I have many others. I think Bish has gone under the radar a little bit. People forget just his calibre and quality as well. Joe Brown slotted in at fullback for us. People probably gloss over how impressive that is, that he's just dropped straight into that fullback role. So you could go through, all the squad and pick something out. So happy with Scott. He'll keep level-headed, and he'll understand what's getting him them performances. He's working hard in training. He's won at first on the training field and last off it, and we just got to keep everyone nice and grounded now and make sure we understand what's getting us them results, as I said.
Obviously, Kieran Hudson as well, making his competitive debut and getting on the score sheet as well, along with young Harvey Reynolds as well. Yeah. Good to see both of them on the score sheet as well. Yeah,
young Harvey, he's had to be patient last year, and he's definitely taking his opportunities when they come this year, isn't he? And really impressed with Renault. I think he's a very quiet lad that just goes about his business in the right way, and same with Kieran. He very low maintenance players. I don't really chat too much to Kieran about rugby. I just chat about other things, and what an handful he is when he's going like that. And the good thing about Kieran is he'll only get better as he gets more game time. And same with Renault, as he gets more games under his belt after a year or two, I think we've got a really good player on his hands.
And then we spoke about being level-headed, but when you look at the momentum that you've got now from these 4 wins, obviously 3 in the league and 1 in the cup, how pleased are you with the progress and the momentum that you've got as a team?
Yeah, really happy. Listen, I know I sound a bit of a boring sod, but it's just one game at a time. As quick as you can build momentum, you can also lose it. So I think it's really important you just stay in the moment and worry about what week it is and the game that you're playing that week. It's a long year. There's going to be peaks and troughs, as we've already spoke about. And that's why it's important just to stay nice and level. As I said, don't get too high, don't get too low. Look at where you can improve. Look at where you can, what you're doing well and what you can carry on repping. And it sounds really simple, and that's because it is. You just keep it like that every week.
So looking at your team news for Featherston, Jesse D had to come off with a head injury assessment. Has he come through that okay? Yeah,
everyone passed their head test. So obviously Kieran passed his head test and we're allowed to go back on, and then Jesse, I think you've got to sit people down for a certain amount of time before they can do that head test. So cost there were only 10 minutes left. We couldn't get Jesse back on, but he passed his head test soon as I'd finished the press after the game. So yeah, them two are fine. Yeah,
and Joe Law was again your unused 18th man in the week. I guess with that eye injury, there was no reason to risk him, was it? Was that how you saw it, or?
Joe. The week before, obviously, still suffering a bit from that eye injury, and nature of sport is someone came in and took their opportunity. So Joe's chomping at the bit, ready to go. And I've got no doubts he'll get his opportunity soon, as will a couple of others. And he's just been patient, waiting for his opportunity to come.
You mentioned the fact that obviously Joe Brown's filling in at the fullback with Will Dagger out of the lineup. How's Will's recovery coming along? Is he still a ways away?
I've given Will this week off so he can go get a bit of family time. He's in the very early stages of his rehab. I mean, literally, he's had, his quad reattached to the bone, for lack of better language. So there's only so much you can do. So I think the most important thing for Dags at the moment is just to get some quality family time for 4 or 5 days. Get away from rugby and just recover. He's looking at, I'd say, in between 3 and 4 months. So, all being well, we can get him back for the business end of the year, and we'll do everything we can to support Dags. He's a well-liked, well-respected member of our squad, and I just feel for him a little bit. He's had a bit of a torrid time, hasn't he, over the last 18 months with injuries. So it's really important that we get him right, not only physically, but he's feeling fresh mentally. Because when we do get him like that, he's an outstanding player at this level.
Yeah. We spoke last week about selection headaches. Both young Taylor Pemberton and Jude Ferreira missed out on the week as well. Yeah. How have they both coped with that? You're a coach that are very open with your lines of communication as well, so you will have no doubt spoken to both about missing them.
Yeah, they understand the team's more important than themselves, so they've done everything right this last week. In terms of how they've prepped themselves and the team. I had a very open chat with Taylor, and he was just unlucky that he's got 2 players playing in front of him that are doing everything right as well. But as soon as the opportunity comes, I'd have no issues throwing Taylor back in there. And same with Jude. Jude had filled in on the wing spot. Obviously with Bish being cup tied, he didn't do anything wrong, but naturally we're going to pick a winger over a centre covering the wing spot. So Jude's a player that I think is going to make that step up lovely to the Championship after what he did with Hunslet last year, and we just got to be patient with a couple, and they're going to have to be patient and wait for their opportunities. And the good thing is they know that if they're training well and other people aren't, then they know them opportunities will come for them, and I'll have no qualms looking someone in the eye and saying, "Oh, I'm picking, Taylor or Jude in this instance," because I feel that they've trained better and they deserve that opportunity.
And likewise, Howard Bradward and Miles Harrison sort of coming along. I think you were kind of saying that it would probably be this week if they would be available again after their injuries. How are they coming along?
Yeah, both back in full training now, so they just need some reps on training field. I suppose it's a luxurious position that you don't have to rush them back. Some players, you get them back in full training and you're like, right, you're playing on Sunday. So we'll give them a week or two just to get the feeling back and get the touch back in, and all being well, we'll still be in a position where we can pick and select when we decide to play them.
And obviously one player that you were delighted to have back in the lineup on Sunday was Atta Hingano as well. And Atta, he made an instant impact really coming back in with his 2 tries and I think 4 assists. Big influence on the game. Yeah,
that's Atta, isn't it? He's been killing him not being in that team. Of course he's all about the team and he's got that stardust about him. I think you look at Atta and Liam, it's a great half pairing. I think Macca's done a great job filling in at 7 and Macca can play a half back to a real good level, so it's real nice that we've got that option there if we do need it. But yeah, Atta's a massive part of this team and he definitely made his impression felt, didn't he, on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess now you've got so many players coming back to full fitness. We've spoken about selection headaches, but it's also competition for places as well. How do you go about keeping everyone happy in that instance as well?
Good question. I think the main thing for me, I've always seen the team as the main thing. People are never going to be 100% happy if they're not playing, but at the same time they understand that they've got to be at the best to be in the team, and that goes right from some of your most experienced campaigners like Akuma and Paul McShane to your younger members such as Harvey, and I'll pick on performance. It's as simple as that, and I'll pick whoever I feel is going to give the team the best impact and lift. So sometimes you've got to make tough calls and you are going to hurt people's feelings, but it's never personal. It's purely just getting what's best for the team, and I think we've got a mature enough group to understand that. At times, look at Paul McShane. He came off field spitting feathers. That brought him off for 20 minutes, and you've just got to understand that, and you've got to remember you're dealing with competitors, people that want to perform, and I think the key to it all is just remembering the team's above everyone else, and my decisions are always based on who's going to benefit the team most.
You use the fact that you are naming a preliminary 21-man squad as any kind of, you're nearly there, you're working towards. For example, Jax O'Neill was named in the 21 but didn't make it through to the 17, so he's clearly on the periphery, in and around the fringes as well. Is that any kind of indication of and just reward for training? Or
you pick the 21 that you feel is the best balanced off the best players you've got available for you. Naturally, if you're not in the 17, you're going to be upset. But Jax has been going really well. I've been really impressed with his attitude since he's joined us, and how he's gone about rehabbing his injury. He's done a lot of training in his own time. And he's another one that's just going to have to be patient and wait for that opportunity to come. But he is like a frothing dog, just waiting to be let off the leash. So looking forward to seeing him back in action as well.
Yeah. So Featherston then on Good Friday. It's a shorter week. Does that change anything in terms of your preparations or the lead up, and also it being a 6 o'clock kick-off as well, slightly later than the 3 o'clock?
It doesn't really bother me, the kick-off time, and it's the same for both teams, isn't it? Both teams are on that short turnaround. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 changes. I know Featherston might have 1 or 2 changes. We may have 1 or 2 changes, and we're prepping for the best version of Featherston. We know that they're going to be, desperate to get that win, and get their season where they want it going. And they've got a quality team, as I said. They were a bit unlucky at the start of the year that they didn't have the pivots fit, and then as soon as you see Ben Reynolds and Rocky come back into action, I think they look a different team completely. So we're not reading too much into past results. As I said, I thought they were very unlucky on last week against Oldham. If they'd have slotted a few of the kicks, they got the win. They threw some really nice shape at them. They've got a pack that can get them going forward. They've got some back rowers that can really punch and all, and their outside backs, with Gale and Wynn and the centres are a real handful. So we know that they're a good team, and we'll have to bring best version of ourselves if we want to get anything out of it.
Obviously, you've looked back at that previous game against Oldham. Have you looked any further back at any more of the? Because I think they've had 5 defeats in their opening 6 games, and Paul Cook will not be happy with obviously where they are at this point. Have you looked any further back than just the Oldham one?
We've looked at a few, but likewise they'll look at a few of ours. I know Cookie will have probably even gone back to last year and looked at a few things. I know he's that sort of coach. So we're just prepping on us, knowing where we need to fix up. Obviously, we respect his opposition and we know where their strengths and a couple of areas we feel we can exploit are, but likewise they'll be doing the same with us. And as sounds really boring, you might as well put me on repeat on this, but each week you just focus on yourself, especially, what we're on round 7. I don't think any team's playing how they'll want to play this time of year, so we're just focusing on where we can put us tweaks and make sure we're at best version of York Knights before we start tweaking any tactics too extreme to exploit an opposition.
And when you go up against someone that knows the squad and knows you as a coach so well as Paul Cook does, obviously having been your assistant coach last year, do you throw any surprises in? Do you do anything to kind of play a chess match in that respect, or is it just about keeping it simple?
I think there's always going to be one or two things that are there. Knowing Cookie there, I'm under no doubts Featherston will have one or two trick shape that they're going to come with us on, but it's mainly repping your principles and making sure you know roughly what sort of structures other teams are going to do. As I said, they're always going to throw in that little trick shape, but it's mainly making sure that your principles are right, so that regardless of what shape comes, everyone's sticking to the same systems and things like that. So they're going to be a very well coached team, especially with their attack, as if they get near his try line. I know I enjoyed coaching with Cookie. I thought he complimented me well, so I know that they'll have some decent strike coming at us for sure.
And just finally, I know that obviously you're focused on Featherston at the moment, but Bradford in the 1895 Cup, the fact that it's a home draw, is that the most important thing for you, that home semi-final?
I'll be honest with you, I couldn't really care about it at this moment in time. I'll worry about that semi-final when it's semi-final week. We've got some big games coming up before then. We still know near where we want to be in that league either. So that's our main focus now. It's still about a month away, so I don't even give it a second thought, if I'm honest with you. I'd actually forgot about the draw after the game until someone mentioned Bradford to me, and then it clicked why everyone was singing about Bradford as the game were going on. So listen, it'll be any team that would have drawn would have been tough. Bradford, Oldham, Featherston, all quality teams. We're not really focusing on the semi-final yet, because if we did, we're going to get a pretty tough lesson dealt to us in these next 3-4 games. So we'll just focus on Featherston Friday. We'll then move on to the next game, and then when it comes round to the Bradford, we'll look at where we're at as a squad, who we've got available to us, and that's when we'll start prepping for that semi-final.
Brilliant, thanks Ash.
No problem.
Hi Mark.
Hey Gabriel, you okay?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. Just quickly reflecting on that Doncaster game then, do you think your team's almost set the bar there with how good a performance it was? And is that the target that you now will look for in future games from your team?
I think there's still a load that we can go after. We reviewed it last night, and we still feel there's a load of areas that we can improve. I think it's fair to say Doncaster probably didn't bring their best version. There were a couple of soft tries on their part. I think there were one where there were a bit of miscommunication where Kieran's ran through off a tap, and things like that. So really happy with our display. But I also know Orney and know how good a coach Orney is, that he'll be filthy with a few of the soft tries that they conceded. So I think we set the bar in certain areas, but we're not idiots. We know that Doncaster weren't at the races on Sunday either.
Yeah, I know we spoke about it slightly a little bit last week, but how impressive have you been with how your spine of your team is trailing the likes of Paul McShane, Liam Harris, Satin Garner? How sort of happy with how that's coming along? Yeah,
we knew it was there. Obviously, we had a 6-7 last year, and it's just a case them first 2 or 3 games. I don't think we're in the same spine once. So it's like any team. The more time key positions get to play together, the more they're going to build a relationship and a connection. So really happy with it, and they won't get complacent on it. They'll carry on, working on areas that we feel we need to work on, and we'll just go game by game as we are doing.
Yeah, and just quickly on your teams as well. Young Jack Brown, what's all the situation with him? Because he was spotted with a protective boot on Sunday. So is he okay? What's the current status of his injury?
Yeah, Jack should be out for about 3 weeks. We've put him on loan to Castleford Academy and reserve just so he can play against players his own age. With York not currently having an academy and reserve set up, it's really important we give Jack the appropriate challenge for his development, which Castleford have kindly offered to help with. So yeah, his ankle there, so we'll get him rehabbed on there, and then we'll keep him out of Castleford so he can focus on playing against players his own age and working on his development.
Yeah, and just Liam Harris and Kieran Buchanan as well. A few ice packs out on Sunday, just niggly little injuries. How are they sort of coping with that? Yeah,
okay. We brought Liam off purely. We had the luxury of doing that you don't normally have. So brought Liam off there. Same with Tomo. So yeah, everyone got through with a clean bill of health last night. We just got to get through tomorrow's training then, and then we'll see how the team looks for Friday.
On to Featherston then. Is it always a bit of a weird situation coming up against Paul Cook and Jed Corcoran, two people you worked with so closely last season? I know rugby's a really small world at times, but it's almost like we're up against your coaching staff from last season now at a different club.
I remember getting asked this last year quite a lot, when we played certain teams, and it's irrelevant. They're not playing, so we'll prep on the players that are playing. I'd be a bit embarrassed if people did make it about the coaches, because when the game kicks off, it's about the players, and rightly so. So we're just looking purely objectively at Featherstone as a team. I think they're a very good team. I think the league position's probably not an accurate reflection of how good a team they are at this moment in time. So we're prepping for a very, very tough game, if not the toughest game of the year.
Yeah, and last thing from me. Expected to be a good amount of York supporters travelling over to Featherstone. What's sort of your message towards them, towards the match?
No, just hopefully we can put in a performance that they're proud of. I thought, as always, they were outstanding. Getting behind the lads, and I suppose our job as a team is just to make sure that they've got something they're proud to sing about, and I don't think they realise how much of a difference that atmosphere makes at times, especially when that momentum's going your way, or you need something to turn it your way. So hopefully we'll see them all out in numbers, and we can give them something to shout about.